it does feel that Rapido are coming on and getting better and better with each model released. Everything about this model is exceptional, and really this is one of my favourite releases from Rapido trains. It really does give a great impression of itself. The subtle differences really are well done. We've got even more variety for your wagon fleet, and that is something which I really like to see. A big hello to you. It's so great to see you, and I hope that you are well. I'm Jenny Kirk, welcome you up here to Weir Yard, and today we've got the Rapido Wagon Roundup. Yes, they are releasing yet more all-new tooled models, and they've sent over for review not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 subtly different wagons of both open and van type, and these are all now just reaching the shops, and we do have a link down below in the description box to help you find these for your collection. But certainly I've been really looking forward to these wagons since they were announced, and Rapido have done some really great work on the wagon front, bringing us a whole host of different wagons that are suitable not just for the BR era or the Big Four era, but certainly right back to the pre-grouping era, and that is definitely a huge boon for all of you who've got those nice pretty pre-grouping locomotives and maybe not quite as much stuff that's suitable to run with them. They very kindly sent over samples of all of the different diagrams of wagons that are in this latest bunch of releases. So can Rapido keep bettering what they've done before? Well, come with me and let's take a closer look. Today's video comes in association with Train-O-Matic, makers of DCT decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabriek.co.uk. Additional support comes from...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model OO gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com, and don't miss out on your latest loco.
I have to say, one of the things that I really do like about Rapido is when they bring out a new wagon, they do look at whether it's possible to build into the tooling the means to do similar but different diagrams of the wagon, and that is exactly what they've done with the 5 wagons that we've got here today. Now these are ostensibly 2 different types of wagons, but we've got 5 different diagrams, and as you'll see as the review goes on, there's some subtle but definitely quite noticeable differences between these different types of diagrams that really does add interest to your fleet, that really does reward closer inspection. But first of all, I'd like to ask a big favour. Please hit that like button, share this video and subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so to be the first to know about new videos. You can also become a channel member or head on over to Patreon to support the channel, and both are great ways to get unique benefits and help support the channel. But let's get on with the Rapido Roundup review. What I love about Rapido Trains UK is when they release a new wagon, they don't just do one diagram of that wagon. Quite often, when wagons were built, there were a few different detail variations, and these would get different diagram numbers. And habitually, manufacturers have tended to focus on the most numerous of those diagram numbers and maybe fudge some of the others, but just, gloss over their existence. And because they do that, it means we're very unlikely to see the slightly different variations in ready-to-run form. But Rapido, they don't do that. They make sure that the tooling suite gives them a wide variety of different wagons that they can do from it. And I think that this adds a great deal of nice variety to our ready-to-run rolling stock fleets. And it's really a bumper crop of new wagons that's come through from Rapido. And we've got ostensibly the Great Western ventilated van and the Great Western 5-plank open wagon. But we do have a number of different diagram numbers available. We've got diagram 015 and diagram 011. These constitute the Open B and the Open A. And the items that Rapido Trains have very kindly sent for us to review here on the channel are catalogue number 943019 as GWR liveried number 30307 and catalogue number 943004 as the Open A number 19818. But not content with these releases, they've also done a triplet of different diagram numbers for the ventilated vans as well. And as always, they've also covered some really interesting variants that were made of these in real life. We've got the diagram Y4 Banana van, which was a conversion of these that was quite successful and played to the booming trade in the interwar years of bananas that were shipped in refrigerated vessels to stop the ripening, and then consequently they could be ripened on demand to reach the shops in as fresh a condition as possible. They've also brought us the diagram V14 van, and this particular one that they've sent over for review is the packing van for the BR Western region, and this is a particularly interesting one, and I think that this is certainly a wagon that will be of great interest to anybody who has got one of the Bachmann cranes that were released recently, or indeed is waiting for the Oxford Rail cranes, as this is the perfect addition to run in any breakdown train. We've also got the diagram V17, and this particular one, the 10-ton van in War Department livery, shows that it was not just locomotives that were pressed into service during the First World War. Catalogue number 944028 is the version that they've sent over for review. I'm going to start with the open wagons, and these come in the standard Rapido Trains boxes, and these are exactly the same form factor as what other manufacturers are releasing their wagons in, which is really great if you want to store the boxes because they do tessellate together perfectly with those made by different manufacturers. First impressions of the wagon out of the box is the level of detail, and what I particularly like are these stretcher bars that run between the axle boxes. The reason for these was to stop the axle boxes being forced apart by the brakes, and when you turn this over, this all becomes clear. These are outwardly very similar to the diagram 011, but these included vacuum brakes, and that of course would give the force that could risk squeezing these axle boxes apart. So this was a very, very necessary addition to the wagons, and certainly one which until recently a lot of manufacturers have neglected to model on their vacuum braked wagons, when in reality they should have them. The rest of the underframe detail really is quite nice. We've got a lot of separately applied parts, including the handbrake lever. This is a very, very distinctive design that Great Western Wagons had. And then we've also got the door bangs, the springs that stop the door when it's open from smashing into the chassis and causing damage to itself. And there is a wealth of detail on that underframe. You can pick out the different bump stops for the suspension and also all of that rivet detail. The springs as well, there's a lot of air gaps where they need to be, and certainly this feels like a much finer wagon than some of Rapido's previous releases. It's very difficult to put my finger on what it is, but it does feel that Rapido are coming on and getting better and better with each model released. We've got the single spoke wheels here in turned metal, and these are very, very free running. We've got brake shoes that line up with the wheel treads, and customary for Rapido wagons, we've got that fully detailed underfloor with all of the buffer drawbar gear and everything that you might expect to find on a real wagon visible for all to see. The buffers are not sprung, but we've got the correct pattern on there with some quite nice, these I think are etched metal buffer heads, and we've got the vacuum pipes factory fitted. The livery is the Great Western Railway, sort of very dark grey with a hint of green, and this does fit with the other releases that we've seen for the Great Western Railway. With the small insignia, GW 10 ton 30307, this appears to be a slightly later era version of the wagon, and the printing is quite crisp and clean. I really like the strapping detail you can see here with the doors and the chains. These aren't separately applied, but they are really crisp in the tooling, and certainly that really does look like a premium wagon. The colour inside as well, again, they've got very good at representing this sort of unpainted weathered wood, and that colour is captured perfectly. There is a slight suggestion of the inside of the doors, and that is of course quite important. These were opening drop side doors, and it's nice to see that that hasn't been forgotten when the tooling for the inside of the wagon has been made. The plank detail too really looks good, and I guess a light dusting of weathering will really bring this out to the fore. Slimline couplings mounted in pockets which are hidden between the wheels if you wish to do away with these so you don't have to carve out the chassis. The wagon comes with a whole host of extra detailing, and this is for a tarpaulin bar which can be fitted along with all the fittings, and this really does transform these into something that looks just a little bit different in your wagon fleet. The second wagon that's been sent is to the slightly different diagram 011, and essentially what this means is that this is the unfitted version of pretty much the same wagon. Again, we've got the same detailing available, and popping this out of its box, again, we can enjoy that same level of detail that the previous version had, with the only difference being there is no vacuum brake on this. Comparing the two wagons, it's nice to see that this really does look amazing. There's plenty of underframe detail, and the only thing which alludes to that missing vacuum cylinder is we have these two little holes for mounting that as part of the tooling suite. Everything else on this wagon seems to be pretty much the same, and it really is lovely to see. We've got no vacuum standard on the end, as you would expect. The couplings are still fitted in the NEM pockets, and we've still got those single spoke wheels, which are very free running, and that characteristic Great Western Railway handbrake lever painted in the white. Again, the printing is nice and crisp, and we've got the larger lettered GW with the number and the tear weight underneath there. This is really crisp, and there's no bleed through from the colour underneath, which is great to see, and certainly something which you do have to watch out for with white lettering over a darker colour, as sometimes if the paint consistency isn't thick enough or there's not enough passes being made, you can get a nasty bleed through, but we haven't got any of that. And these larger sized letters as well straddle the plank gaps perfectly without again any of that dark grey green making it through.
Does your home insurance cover your model railway collection? There can be certain conditions or limitations attached to your policy which could leave your collection uninsured or with very limited cover from all kinds of risks. For example, many home policies only provide very limited cover for contents kept in garages or other outbuildings, and some will only cover for collections up to a limited value. Magnet Insurance are here to help give you that peace of mind, making sure that you don't get caught out. Our specialist policies are flexible, and we can work with you to make sure that your collection is correctly covered and answer any questions that you have. Put your mind at ease by giving us a call on 01636 858 249 or visit our website for a quotation at www.modelrailwayinsurance.co.uk.
Turning our attention over to the vans, there are three subtly different diagrams that Rapido are doing and that they've sent over examples of each. I'm going to start with the War Department version here, and this is diagram V17, and a number of these wagons were sent to use for the military, along with the open wagons as well that we previously saw, and Rapido have provided War Department versions available for you to purchase. Again, same form factor of box. There's no additional parts in a detail bag for these. And again, we've got some paperwork with these which give us some information on these GWR Mink A style vans. Again, just as we saw with the open wagons, the V14 has vacuum brakes, whereas the V16 was unfitted. Getting the wagon out of the packaging, what is immediately very striking is these very distinctive centre doors. This is something that modelers have only been able to enjoy up till now by building their own kits of this type of wagon. And kit building is not for everybody, and certainly building the kit is only the first part of the puzzle. And I've seen many an exceptional kit build ruined by a poor application of livery. All of that is taken care for you by Rapido. This very light grey War Department livery also brings out the detail and makes it very easy to show you just how fine and crisp the mouldings on this wagon are. The strapping on the sides is really nicely done, and we've got the different styles of angle that went into these, some with rivets and some without. Those doors do look really nice and crisp, with nice deep lines where they would butt up to the rest of the van and actually look good enough to be openable. They're not, but it's really a testament to how crisp and sharp this tooling is that they look as if they could. We've got this additional branding on there with the WD with the arrow logo, and this again really nice and crisp, and even down to this board here with the etiquette written on the top is really quite crisp and clean. There's no bleed through of the grey. Looking to the chassis, we've got additional printing on here too, and again that's really nicely done. Despite the limited access, they've got it on absolutely perfect with no distortion or smudging. Again, we've got that distinctive Great Western Railway handbrake, and the stretcher bars between the axle boxes are again in place. This is not the vacuum fitted version, and you can see on the underside again we've got all of that crisp detailing, with the only thing that alludes to the vacuum brake version are those two subtle holes for the fitting of the vacuum cylinder. Everything about this model is exceptional, and really this is one of my favourite releases from Rapido trains in their wagon range. It really does give a great impression of itself. This is the Diagram V14, and it's available here in the review sample as the packing van version, although Rapido are doing all manner of different livery options for these vans, ranging from their original role with the Great Western Railway through War Department use and departmental use and later BR use too. This particular one really does stand out with its red livery. For me, this really is a standout wagon, and it'll certainly be eye-catching in your fleet. The livery is fully prototypical, and these wagons were typically used on breakdown trains to carry packing materials, which was essentially various pieces of wood that were designed to be used when re-railing items to be able to pack underneath for safety, and also to be able to hold the item whilst the crane repositioned in a more complex lift. We've got the same pattern of those distinctive side doors, and the red is really quite nicely applied. It's quite a difficult colour to get right. It was a very distinctive colour in BR days, and this does feel like it's captured it really well. We've got the slightly yellowed lettering there with MP, packing van, 10 tonne, and then its departmental number DW150066. Again, really crisp and no bleed through from the red. Red can often be one of the more tricky of the colours to overprint the fine detail, and I've seen many a wagon spoilt by bleed through, but we don't get that problem here. This is of course the vacuum fitted version. You can see there underneath the vacuum fitted cylinder in place with the brake rigging exactly as you would expect. I love these stretcher bars. It's something that many wagons are supposed to have, but often are released ready to run without, and it's really nice to see that they have been included as standard in all of these wagons. They are moulded in a very flexible plastic that's very strong but will counter a few knocks. We've got the single spoke wheels in place. These would have been probably the most long lasting of these vans. Cascaded into departmental use, the breakdown trains wouldn't have necessarily been used a huge amount, so these would have been fairly lightly used in their later days, and it's through this route that it may be that some of these could have ended up in preservation. It's interesting comparing it back to the War Department version of the van. We've also got different versions on the roof beading. These are the rain strips that stop any rain during wet weather from just pouring over and soaking anybody going in and out through the doors. On the War Department version, you can see these run the full length of the van, but with different tooling options, we've got this subtly different rain strip that only covers the actual door itself. The final van that Rapido have sent over is the GWR Y4 Banana van, and this, again, is quite a different beast. Internally, these would have been a lot different, being lined with cork insulation, and this actually comes with additional steam heating pipes which were used as part of the ripening process for the bananas that were being carried within. Included on the leaflet, we've got some information about these vans. Also used for meat traffic, the Y4 van was a conversion of the V16 Mink A, and these were definitely a very successful design. With a few other detail differences with the door locks and handles, these lasted quite well right into the BR steam era, and there is one surviving example in preservation at the Derwent Valley Light Railway. These will make a fine addition to other banana vans that are currently being released to the market and add variety to some of your banana trains, especially during BR days when they may well have become mixed up just a little bit. Looking at this van, there are definitely a few detail differences which really do spring out. On the ends of the vans, we've got this extra vent, which is not present on either of the two diagrams of vans that we've already looked at. These come factory fitted with the vacuum standard, and then turning round to the side, let's compare. We've got that lower door handles, which are replicated on the banana van as per the real life prototypes. And I really do like these subtle differences that really do make these stand out. We've got 3 for the price of 1, and Rapido really do have to be commended for that. On the wagon itself, this one is in the GW large lettered version, and again, there's no bleed through from any of this printing. It really is crisp and sharp. Even down to some of the small writing, it's crisp and clear, and we can see all of what it says under magnification so well. We've also got our return to GWR not common user plate here, again printed really nice and sharp, and then the large white circle, which was a great visual indication that these were specially fitted banana vans, so that even from a distance it was able to be spotted that the correct vans were being used on the correct traffic flow. Underneath too, we've got the vacuum braking, stretcher bars. Again, none of the buffers on these are sprung, but you know my stance on sprung buffers. In 00, they're not really necessary, and actually doing without them, if done well like this, is perfectly fine if it helps keep the cost down. This is probably one of my favourites of this trio. The subtle differences really are well done, and between these 3 different vans that Rapido have brought out in unison, we've got even more variety for your wagon fleet, and that is something which I really like to see. They could have easily just picked one of these 3 to release, but they've done all 3 from the tooling, and that's what I like about the innovation that comes from Rapido. When it comes to running on the track, these wagons performed absolutely faultlessly. They ran through all areas of Weir Yard without any issues, any derailments, and they really did feel like they were firmly on the track with no sign of wobbling about or bouncing over some of the less than well laid track geometry. They took in all the junctions and certainly really do look something special when marshalled into a train. In terms of price, these are available at the RRP of £32.95, although shopping around I've been able to find them discounted to around £27.95, which is probably about right for a new tooled wagon, and certainly the tooling for these has really taken care of all of the different diagrams, and that is something which really should be commended. So we come now to the scores. First up is build quality, and these really are well made. There's just no issues whatsoever with the build, and even the detail on the chassis is really well put together with no risk of parts coming flying off. I like the stretcher bars between the axle boxes, and certainly that's something which should be modelled more on wagons but often isn't. All in all, there's nothing to fault, so I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. On running quality, these performed faultlessly over all areas of wear yard, and again, there's just nothing that I can point to fault, so they deserve the full 10 out of 10. On DCC fitting and innovation, well, innovation is all that concerns us with this. I do like the way that with careful use of presumably slides in the tooling, they've been able to cater for quite a lot of different detail variants, and that is something that I really do like. The tooling is really nice and crisp, and there's just really not that much that you can fault with this. The buffers aren't sprung, and if I was to point at something and say not 100% on that, it's that the shanks of the buffers all appear to be finished in the body colour rather than showing signs of the silvery finish that you would expect from a buffer head that's able to slide in and out on the spring. So I'm going to give these a 9.5. Again, accuracy and quality of finish, it's an amazing amount of research that's gone into these, and the end result is absolutely amazing. The printing is crisp and true. Even where we've got printing down on the wagon sole bar, it's not distorted and it's really crisp, and there's no bleed through whatsoever. But I have to say, if I could point to one thing which I think does detract, is that in the buffer heads, between the buffer heads and the shanks themselves, that should be a metallic silver and certainly shouldn't be painted the same as the body colour, and on the lighter liveried models it does detract just a little tiny bit. But I'm kind of splitting hairs on that, so I'm going to give them a 9.8. On value for money, the £32.95 is the RRP, discounted down to £27.95. That's a pretty good price for a brand new all-tooled wagon, but you're not just getting two different wagons, the open and the ventilated van. Here we've got 5 subtly different wagons, and a whole host of different livery options are available. I'm going to give them an 8.1, and that gives us an overall score of 47.4. These are definitely a great roundup of wagons from Rapido, and I love every single one. The livery options are great, and the livery renditions are crisp and clean. The choice of colours is perfect, and there's not one of these wagons that looks out of place from where it should be. Well, I hope you really enjoyed today's video and found it informative, and don't forget that we've got a link down in the description box to help you find all these different versions of the new Rapido wagons in all of the different liveries available. But like the previous releases from Rapido, do be quick because they do sell out very, very quickly. And given that Rapido are hard at work at bringing all new wagons through, it might be a little while before we get another production run of these, so miss it and you miss out. But I'd love to hear from you in the comments section as well. What did you think about these new wagons? Are there things about them that you really love? Are there other things maybe that you don't like? Is there anything that you think that I missed? It's always a great way to share your knowledge with your fellow railway modelers, and I do love hearing from you all. Also, please check out the full merch store that we've got down below, and you can head on over to Patreon and help support the channel, and indeed you can become a channel member too for a whole host of unique benefits that you can get from that, and also be helping to support the channel to keep making the videos that you want to see. And until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying you take great care of yourself. Happy modelling, bye for now. Today's video comes in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabriek.co.uk. Additional support is provided by...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model double O gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com and don't miss out on your latest logo.
Does your home insurance cover your model railway collection? There can be certain conditions or limitations attached to your policy which could leave your collection uninsured or with very limited cover from all kinds of risks. For example, many home policies only provide very limited cover for contents kept in garages or other outbuildings, and some will only cover for collections up to a limited value. Magnet Insurance are here to help give you that peace of mind, making sure that you don't get caught out. Our specialist policies are flexible, and we can work with you to make sure that your collection is correctly covered and answer any questions that you have. Put your mind at ease by giving us a call on 01636 858 249 or visit our website for a quotation at www.modelrailwayinsurance.co.uk.
I'd like to thank everybody over on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to our Patreon heroes. Without you guys over on Patreon, we really wouldn't be able to keep making the video content that you see on this channel. And don't forget that you can also head on over to patreon.com/Jennifer Kirk and check out the different tiers of rewards. Thank you so much. You are absolute legends.